In today's edition of the Red Sox Rundown, Craig Breslow speaks. With the World Series ending tonight and Major League Baseball crowning a world champion, the postseason is over and the offseason is here. And Craig Breslow spoke to Sean McAdam just a day or so ago about what the Red Sox offseason plans are. And honestly, I feel pretty optimistic. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to get into all of his quotes. I'm going to tell you why I think the way I think, especially why I'm optimistic when over the past few years we've kind of been burned. But before I do, we are 10 subscribers away from 7,000 subscribers. That is the next major milestone on the channel. And the bosses have been hounding me. They're like, Jack, when are you going to get to 7K? When are you going to get to 7K? They've been hounding me about it. Let's get there right now. I need 10 people that have not already to hit that sub button. Join the family today because after today, all hell breaks loose and everything is going to go down. So make sure you hit that sub button, join the family, and don't miss anything that happens this offseason for the Boston Red Sox. All right. So like I said, Craig Breslow spoke to Sean McAdam, an article that dropped yesterday, and he spoke about where he views the Red Sox currently, what the offseason plans are. Does he believe that ownership is going to spend? He had a lot of really interesting quotes that I wanted to discuss today. Let's start with this one right here, talking about just the Red Sox in general. He said, we're definitely closer to our goal when you think about the season we just had, but we're also not where we want to go yet. And adding the wins that take you from 89 to 90 to 91 to 92 are really hard. On the field, we saw some of our key guys take steps forward in terms of development and performance. Now, I've been saying this for a while now. This World Series window opens. It is opening right now. This needs to be a massive offseason for the Boston Red Sox because I believe that with the right moves, with the right acquisitions, with the right roster construction, this World Series window opens wide. And it's time. And Breslow, the front office, the ownership group, I think all believe that. They believe that what we saw this past season is the very beginnings and the makings of a potential World Series contender. Now, are they there yet? Of course not. There's still a lot of work they have to do. We've discussed that ad nauseum on this channel. There are a lot of needs that have to be filled. There are a lot of different positional routes that need to be taken. There are people in the front office and in the coaching staff that need to be replaced because they've been poached by other teams. There's a lot of things that still need to be done. But if they do them correctly, the Red Sox could be walking into the 2026 season as legitimate World Series contenders. We were saying, I remember I said before the season, like, this could be a World Series team. This team could shock a lot of people. Shock a lot of people. That was kind of the big part of that entire phrase. But if they make the right moves this offseason, it's not going to shock anyone. A lot of people are going to herald them as World Series contenders. They need to do it, though. They need to put their money where their mouth is. John Henry needs to spend, and Breslow needs to be decisive and make the right moves. What are those moves, you say? Well, here's more from Craig Breslow. He said, we also have needs that will likely address via external acquisitions. From a front office standpoint, we've had some really difficult but necessary decisions to get out operation focused on what matters, which is winning Major League Baseball games. We're in an improved position to acquire the right players and make them better. All of that said, this isn't a time to pat ourselves on the back. We have work to do. I really like this mentality from Breslow here. He could just say, we've made really great strides. We're very happy where we are. It's only up from here. But he didn't say that. He said some of that. He said, we've made a lot of decisions internally, front office wise and managerial wise and organization wise, that put us in the best position that we've been in a long time to make huge decisions for this team, to upgrade this team to a level that we have not seen, since they have been a postseason threat, in 18 and in 13 and in 7 and 04. Like, they feel like they're in a good spot, but they're not satisfied though, because they know that what just happened, getting bounced in the wild card round by the Yankees, is unacceptable. With all the talent they have, with all the potential they have, that's unacceptable. Breslow understands that, and I really like that mentality from him. Again, he could just toot his own horn, which he's done in the past, and just say, yeah, this is a testament to, really great things that we've done. Like talking about the Christian Campbell signing and things like that, and taking like partial credit for Christian Campbell being a great player. Like that, he's done that in the past, which has rubbed me the wrong way. But this mentality of, hey, we've made a lot of strides, but we're not there yet. We still got to put up and shut up. I really like that mentality from Breslow. You let me know. Do you think the Red Sox are a World Series contender heading into 2026? Type C if you think they're a contender, P if you think they're a pretender. I think they are shifting towards the contender route. I think that they still need to make the moves that we've discussed on this channel multiple times now. But if they make those moves, I am definitely typing my C for contender. I think that they could legitimately contend this next season if they make the right moves. Let's talk about those moves. Let's talk about what they are going to do. Without getting into specifics about individual players, we will continue to look at all opportunities to improve the team. That likely means some combination of free agency, trades, and continued development of our own players. There are available players who are going to have all-star seasons. And then there are these players who are going to underperform. Our job as a front office is to get those decisions right. It's time for Breslow to prove the doubters wrong. I think we can all agree that Breslow had an awesome offseason last year, trading for Carlos Narvaez, trading for Garrett Crochet, making the deal for Alex Bregman. There were some duds, but, bringing in Justin Wilson, just to name a few. Bringing in Aroldis Chapman, that's a huge one that I forgot to mention. There were some duds, Walker Buehler, and then the deadline. The deadline wasn't great. But he arguably needs a bigger offseason this season. Last offseason was huge. Trading away 4 prospects for a number 1 ace level pitcher. Trading for your future catcher of the future, making a bunch of trades, making a bunch of free agent acquisitions, paying a lot of money to bring in Alex Bregman. Like, those are big moves. He arguably needs a bigger offseason this offseason. And he needs to be more decisive and make more moves. And the fact that he is mentioning that trades, development, and free agency are all on the table is a good thing. Because if you look at the free agent market, it's not that impressive, especially in the starting pitching realm. They are going to have to be decisive once again with trades. And he's talked about it numerous times. He says they have a really strong farm system that they can use to make trades, bring in players that they need on the major league level. He's talked about that multiple times. And so it's time to prove the doubters wrong. A lot of people are down on Breslow. I'm not. I'm very high on Breslow. Did he have a bad deadline? Yes. Has he continued to have bad trade deadlines? Yeah, that just happens to be his kryptonite. But if you look at his resumes in the offseason, they've been pretty good. Let's not, Chris Sale trade aside. This past offseason was incredible, all things considered. And also, you got to give him a pat on the back for getting the extensions done. You extend Christian Campbell to a stupidly cheap deal. You extend Garrett Crochet to a deal that is going to be pale in comparison to what Tarek Skubal is going to get next offseason. It's going to be highway robbery. You extend Roman Anthony. You extend Aroldis Chapman. Like, those are all things that Breslow had to do, and he did. So, you got to give him credit where credit's due, but it is time to silence the haters and prove the doubters wrong. He also spoke about ownership, and this is kind of the biggest question of them all. Breslow could want to do every move under the sun. He could want to make every trade. He could want to sign every big-name free agent. But it all comes down to whether or not John Henry's going to spend. Here's what Breslow had to say, though. I'm obviously not going to get into specifics about budget, but this ownership group has consistently provided the resources to invest in a winning team. Call me crazy. Say I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I'm sure a few of you in the comments will say that. I actually believe Breslow about this quote. Because, look, have we been mad at Henry in the past for not spending? Yes. I've been mad about John Henry not spending. I've called him cheap. I've called him a horrible owner. I've called for them to sell the team. But there is a pattern. I don't know if you guys have noticed. before 04, before 07, before 13, before 18. When Henry felt that they had the makings and the core of a potential World Series team, he invested before any of those World Series teams. He went out and invested. So I do declare that I think that is the same mentality Henry feels about this team right now. He thinks that this team can contend. He thinks that this young core that they have is going to be the young core of the future. And I do believe Breslow when he says that when the team is good, when the team is set up to be good, when the team is set up to be a winner, Henry provides. And I think, and I believe, that what we saw this past season was enough to show Henry, hey, this is like legit. This team is going to be legit. But we need to get better, and we're not there yet. So I actually believe Breslow when he says that about the ownership group. And again, this is coming from someone who's been highly, highly, highly distrustful of the ownership group. I've not been a fan of Henry in the Fenway Sports Group at all in the last few years. But they always show up when the Sox are contenders. And right now, like I said earlier in this video, the Sox are contenders. Let me know in the comments. Do you trust the Red Sox ownership team? T for trust, D for distrust. I trust them. I think it's time. I think they realize it's time. And therefore, I think that they are going to have a big offseason. I said the thumbnail of this video is spending spree. The title of this video are the Red Sox getting ready to spend big this offseason. I truly believe that. And I think Breslow kind of hinted at that in that quote. When Henry thinks they can compete, he invests. Well, I think he thinks they can compete now. And I would expect for him to invest this offseason. So T for trust, D for distrust. You let me know down below in the comments. All right, before we get out of here, a few quick news and notes. So we were talking about Giolito the other day because, coming up in the next few days, they're going to have to decide whether or not to give him the qualifying offer. And one of the biggest notes I had was, his health. You need to be sure if you're going to give him the qualifying offer, if his health is up to snuff. Chris Cotillo gave an update on Giolito's health just yesterday as well. Here was the quote. He said, "This week, one source with knowledge of Giolito's situation described him as 100%, quote unquote, and on a regular throwing program. A different league source said the righty is, quote unquote, making improvements with his throwing timeline, set to be guided by this off-season ramp-up." So it seems like he's good. Seems like he's starting to ramp up. And it seems like he will be ready for, full off-season, which is great. I still wouldn't give him the qualifying offer. He did good for the Red Sox this year. He did start to tail off at the end. You could claim that was the injury or whatever. And then he didn't pitch for you in the postseason. So am I willing to give $22 million when I could spend that money elsewhere? I don't know if I am. Because what we all expect to happen is Garrett Crochet is your one. You acquire a 2, whether that be via trade or free agency. Bayo is your 3. I would put Connolly Early as your 4, and then I would let the rest of the internal options battle it out for the 5th spot. There's no room for Giolito in that rotation. Therefore, I'm not willing to pay $22 million for a number 4. I'm not. I would rather put that money elsewhere. So I'm glad that it seems like he's healthy. I'm glad that he's going to be able to go out into free agency and get the most money he can. Because he earned it. He did. But I would not, if I was the front office, be giving Giolito the qualifying offer. Because I do believe, with some of the injury concerns, that Giolito would take the qualifying offer like that. All right, before we get out of here, one quick note that I wanted to bring up. I did just put out a short about this, but I wanted to talk about it real quick in a video form. But the Red Sox are losing their director of pitching, Justin Willard, to the Mets. The Mets are hiring him as the pitching coach. And this is actually a huge loss. I literally had someone in the short that just went out say, who cares? you should care about this loss because Willard, along with Breslow and Andrew Bailey, were all critical in the building of the Red Sox pitching pipeline over the past few years. Connolly Early, Peyton Tolley, now Kyle Harrison, David Sandlin, Tyler Uberstein, just to name a few. Like, a few years ago, the Red Sox' biggest need and biggest difficulty was being able to develop pitching in the minor leagues. They couldn't do it. That was like the biggest issue they had. But when Breslow came in, when Willard and Bailey came in, they have completely overhauled that and honestly made that one of the Red Sox strengths. You could argue their pitching infrastructure in the minors is better than their position player infrastructure right now. So you should care that the Mets are poaching Justin Willard to make them the pitching coach because the Red Sox just lost a key part of their pitching pipeline organizationally. Now, are there people under him that have probably learned from him that can take over and help out? Sure. And do I trust Craig Breslow and Andrew Bailey to continue to push the pitching pipeline forward? Yeah. But from everything I'm hearing, Justin Willard was a huge part of that because Bailey is up in the majors. He's with the major league pitchers. He's got to coach them. And Breslow's the chief baseball officer. He's got to make all the deals for the front office. It sounds like Willard was the guy that was down there helping with all of the, development and all of that. So to all the people in the chat that are like, oh, who cares? Just some random dude. No, he's not a random dude. He's pretty important. And the Red Sox losing him is a pretty big deal. Just like them losing Paul Taboni to the Washington Nationals. That was a big deal. You may not think it was, but it was. So, yeah, just wanted to report on that because that just came out about an hour or so ago. But yeah, big loss for the Sox. Hopefully it's not, that consequential. But congrats to Willard, though, pitching coach of the New York Mets now. That's a pretty cool gig, and I wish him the best in the future. That's it, guys. That's where we're going to end it. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm about to go live on our main Chat Sports channel for Game 7 of the World Series, so don't miss out. Just look up Chat Sports in your YouTube feed, and you'll see it. Game 7 of the World Series. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button. Join us over there, and until next time, go Sox.